The Bold and the Beautiful. Hope's wedding nightmare, a secret revealed and a love tested the night before Hope Logan's wedding was supposed to be filled with excitement, joy, and anticipation. Everything was set for the grand event. The flowers were arranged, the guests were arriving, and Hope, in her wedding dress, was floating on a cloud of happiness, eagerly awaiting her marriage to Liam Spencer. It was a moment that many people had hoped for, the culmination of a love story filled with obstacles, pain, and passion. But as Hope stood on the precipice of her new life, something unexpected and chilling arrived that would forever change her world. A message from an anonymous sender. The message was simple, almost ominous. I have a big secret that will be revealed at your wedding. The words hung in the air like a dark cloud, and for a moment, Hope's heart skipped a beat. Was it a prank? Was someone trying to disrupt the happiest day of her life? Despite the uncertainty, Hope tried to shake off the unease. She didn't want anything to ruin the magical atmosphere that had been so carefully planned for the ceremony. But deep down, she couldn't deny that the message sent a chill down her spine. Despite her fears, Hope chose to push the ominous warning aside. She was determined to focus on the joy that was supposed to come with her wedding day. Liam, the man she loved, had been everything to her. She had overcome so much to be with him. And now, the future she had always dreamed of was finally within reach. So, with a heavy but hopeful heart, Hope continued to prepare for the ceremony, trying not to let the mysterious message overshadow the excitement. As Hope made her way down the aisle the next day, everything seemed perfect. The guests watched with bated breath as she walked toward Liam, her heart swelling with emotion. Her dreams were about to come true. But as she reached the altar and stood beside him, everything changed. Just as the ceremony began, a stranger appeared at the back of the church. A woman Hope had never seen before. Her entrance was almost surreal, as if time had stopped. The murmur among the guests grew louder. Everyone was wondering who this woman was and why she was there, disrupting such a sacred moment. Hope's heart raced as the woman made her way to the altar. The tension in the room was palpable, and as the woman approached Liam, it became clear that she had a message of her own, one that would alter everything Hope thought she knew about her relationship with Liam. The stranger spoke up, her voice steady but full of emotion, and as she did, she revealed the shocking truth. She was pregnant with Liam's child. The room froze. Hope's mind went numb. She could barely process the words that rang in her ears. Pregnant? With Liam's child? Her heart sank into her stomach as she looked from the stranger to Liam, who stood beside her, his face pale with guilt and fear. He looked as if he had just been struck by a bolt of lightning, his body rigid with shock. The weight of the revelation hit Hope like a tidal wave, and she could barely breathe. Her vision blurred and the world around her seemed to tilt. For a moment, everything around Hope faded away. All the plans, the dreams, the love they had built, it was as if none of it mattered anymore. How could this happen? How could Liam, the man she was about to marry, have kept something this monumental from her? The questions flooded her mind like a never-ending torrent, each one more painful than the last. She had always trusted him, believed in him, and now, this. Liam, in his shock, tried to explain himself, but the words didn't come out right. There was no immediate defense. There were no clear answers. Just confusion, guilt, and an overwhelming sense of betrayal hanging in the air. He looked at Hope with pleading eyes. But there was nothing he could say to undo the damage already done. This secret, the one he had kept hidden from Hope, had shattered their future in an instant. The woman who claimed to be carrying Liam's child wasn't just a disruption at their wedding. She was a living, breathing reminder that their relationship was built on a lie. Hope's heart shattered as the reality of the situation set in. She had spent months preparing for this moment, imagining her wedding day as a dream come true. Instead, it had turned into a nightmare. How could Liam have kept something so important from her? How could he have hidden the existence of another woman, another life, that was connected to him in such an intimate way? Her entire world had been upended in a matter of seconds, and there was no turning back. Liam, still in shock, tried to speak, but his words fell flat. He explained that he had made a mistake, that he hadn't known how to tell her, that he hadn't expected this woman to show up and expose everything. But for Hope, the damage was already done. His silence, his hesitation, the fact that he had let this go on for so long without being truthful. It was all too much. She felt a surge of anger, betrayal, and heartbreak all at once, and she couldn't process it all. She had trusted him, loved him with every fiber of her being. And now, he had broken that trust in the most devastating way possible. The stranger's revelation hung in the air like a dark cloud, casting a shadow over everything. Hope's wedding day, the day she had waited for, was no longer about love and celebration. It had become about lies, secrets, and the painful truth that no one had seen coming. Hope stood there, trembling with emotion, her eyes filled with hurt and disbelief. The guests, once excited and full of joy, were now watching in stunned silence, unsure of how to react. The woman who had revealed the truth seemed almost vindicated, her presence at the wedding no longer a surprise but a moment of revelation. She stood there, looking at Liam and Hope, her own emotions hidden behind the calm facade she had maintained. But her message had been delivered, and there was no turning back from the consequences of her words. Hope could feel the weight of the room pressing in on her, suffocating her. She didn't know what to do. She didn't know what to feel. All she could think about was the life she had built with Liam. The future they had dreamed of, and how that future was now in jeopardy. Could she ever trust him again? Could they ever move past this betrayal? And most importantly, what did this mean for their future together? As Hope stood there, her heart in pieces, Liam reached out to her, desperate to explain, to beg for forgiveness, to make everything right, but Hope couldn't bring herself to listen. The pain of his betrayal was too raw, too fresh. She wanted to believe that the man she loved hadn't meant to hurt her, that he hadn't intentionally hidden this secret, but the damage was done. The trust between them had been broken, and it felt like there was no way to fix it. The wedding, which had been supposed to mark the beginning of a new chapter in their lives, was now over before it had even started. The promises of love and commitment seemed empty in the face of such a monumental betrayal. As Hope turned away, leaving Liam standing there, unable to speak, she knew that nothing would ever be the same again. The future she had envisioned had been ripped away in a moment. And now, she was left to pick up the pieces of her shattered heart. The dramatic twist left the future of Hope and Liam's relationship uncertain. Would they find their way back to each other? Could they rebuild the trust that had been so cruelly shattered? Or would this revelation mark the end of their love story, leaving them to move on separately, forever scarred by the secrets of the past? The answers to these questions would unfold in the weeks to come. But for now, the wedding had turned into a nightmare, and Hope was left to face a reality she never could have imagined. The bold and the beautiful. A wedding shattered, trust broken, and a love tested beyond measure. It was supposed to be the happiest day of Hope Logan's life. Her wedding to Liam Spencer was a culmination of years of love, patience, and overcoming the countless obstacles that had stood in their way. Hope had dreamt of this moment for so long. The day when she would marry the man she adored. The man who had been her rock, her confidant, and the father of her child. She had been through heartbreak, betrayal, and loss, but she had always believed that this day would be the beginning of a new chapter in her life. A chapter of happiness, stability, and love, but nothing could have prepared her for the bombshell that was about to shatter everything she held dear. As Hope stood at the altar, dressed in her stunning wedding gown, surrounded by family and friends, everything seemed perfect. She was about to marry the man she loved, and the future stretched out before her with endless possibilities. The guests were smiling, the music was playing, and the anticipation was palpable. It was supposed to be the start of a lifetime of happiness. But as Hope gazed into Liam's eyes, she had no idea that her world was about to come crashing down. Suddenly, in the midst of the ceremony, a woman appeared. A stranger, standing in the back of the church, catching everyone's attention. There was an almost surreal moment of silence as all eyes turned to her, wondering who she was and why she was there. But the woman wasn't just a guest. She was there with a message. A revelation that would forever change Hope's life and her relationship with Liam. As she made her way down the aisle, the tension in the air grew thick. Hope felt a wave of confusion and unease wash over her. She didn't know who this woman was or what she was about to say. But something in the pit of her stomach told her that this wasn't going to be good. And then, as the woman stepped up to the altar and faced Liam, she dropped the bombshell that would turn Hope's world upside down. The woman wasn't just a random guest, she was someone from Liam's past. A woman who, as she revealed, had once been a close friend of Hope's. And even more shocking, this woman was pregnant. Pregnant with Liam's child. The revelation hung in the air like a thunderclap, and Hope's heart stopped in that moment. The world seemed to spin as she tried to process the words that had just been spoken. The woman was carrying Liam's baby, and she had come to make the announcement on the very day of Hope's wedding. Hope's body went cold as the reality of the situation sank in. She had trusted Liam. She had believed in their love and their future together. But how could this have happened? How could Liam have kept such a monumental secret from her? The betrayal was suffocating. Hope's breath caught in her throat as she turned her gaze from the stranger to Liam. Her eyes, once full of love and trust, now burned with disbelief and anger. She wanted to scream, to demand answers, but her voice felt trapped inside her chest. She could barely speak, let alone comprehend the enormity of what was happening. Liam, caught in the headlights of Hope's fury, stood there in stunned silence, unable to find the right words. His face was pale, his expression one of guilt and regret. He had known about this woman, but he hadn't told Hope. He had kept this secret from her. And now, in front of everyone they knew, it was all coming to light. The woman who claimed to be carrying his child had come to disrupt their wedding. And Liam was standing there, powerless to undo the damage. Hope's mind raced. The pain, the hurt, the sense of betrayal overwhelmed her. She had been about to marry the man she loved, the man she thought she knew better than anyone. But now, in an instant, everything had changed. The love she had believed in so deeply felt fragile, broken, and irreparable. Was this the man she had planned to spend the rest of her life with? Was this the man who had promised to love her, cherish her, and stand by her side through thick and thin? The man who had hidden this secret from her? As the shock of the revelation set in, Hope's heart shattered. She could barely look at Liam. Her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't let them fall. She couldn't allow herself to break down in front of everyone. Not when her world had just been torn apart. Instead, she turned away from Liam, walking out of the church as the whispers of the guests followed her like a storm. The weight of the moment was too much for her to bear. She needed to escape. She needed space to breathe, to process, to figure out what had just happened and what it meant for her future. Liam stood frozen, his heart in his throat. He wanted to run after Hope, to explain, to apologize, but he knew it wouldn't matter. He had betrayed her in the most unforgivable way. The woman he had once been close to was carrying his child. And he had kept that secret from the woman he was about to marry. No explanation, no apology could undo the hurt he had caused. Outside the church, Hope wandered, her mind spinning with 1,000 questions. How could Liam have done this to her? How could he have kept something so important from her for so long? She thought she knew everything about him. She thought their love was strong enough to survive anything. But this was different. This was a betrayal that went beyond anything she could have imagined. She had built her entire future around the idea of marrying Liam. But now, everything she had believed in seemed like a lie. As she stood in the silence, trying to gather her thoughts, the woman who had appeared at the wedding approached her. Hope looked at her, her eyes filled with a mixture of pain and anger. She wanted to scream at this woman, to ask why she had chosen this moment to reveal the truth. But the woman's presence wasn't the issue. It was Liam. He had kept this secret from Hope. And now, Hope didn't know if she could ever trust him again. The woman spoke, her voice soft but clear, as she explained her side of the story. She apologized for disrupting the wedding but insisted that she couldn't keep the truth hidden any longer. She was pregnant with Liam's child, and she had come to make sure Hope knew the truth before they married. For a moment, Hope felt a flicker of understanding for the woman's predicament. But that feeling was quickly overshadowed by the crushing weight of Liam's betrayal. She could barely look at the woman, let alone consider the complexity of the situation. All she could think about was how this secret had been kept from her. How Liam had lied by omission. How the foundation of their love had been shattered. Liam finally caught up with Hope. But instead of running into her arms, he was met with her cold stare. The love and trust they had shared seemed like a distant memory, a shadow of what once was. Hope looked at him with a mixture of heartbreak and disbelief, her voice trembling as she asked, "How could you do this to me, Liam? How could you keep this secret from me? We were about to get married, and you've been lying to me this whole time. Do you even love me anymore?" Her words cut deep, and Liam's heart sank as he saw the pain in her eyes. There was no easy answer. There was no quick fix. All he could do was stand there, regretful, helpless, and broken. Hope's mind raced with questions and doubts. Could their love survive this betrayal? Could she ever trust him again? She didn't know the answers. But she knew one thing for sure. The future she had envisioned with Liam was no longer certain. Everything they had worked for, everything they had dreamed of, was now in jeopardy. She wasn't sure what would happen next, but she knew that nothing would ever be the same. As the days passed, Hope was forced to confront the reality of her situation. Liam had betrayed her in the worst way possible, and she didn't know if she could ever forgive him. The future of their relationship hung in the balance. Was there hope for them? Or was this the end of their love story? The road ahead was uncertain. But one thing was clear. Hope's wedding day, the day that was supposed to mark the beginning of her happily ever after, had turned into the start of a heartbreaking and tumultuous journey. And as the drama unfolded, only time would tell whether love, trust, and forgiveness could heal the wounds of the past.